Who am I? Who am I going to be? These are often questions we ask ourselves as we enter our adult lives. I've recently found myself asking these questions as my college career begins to come to an end. Through asking myself these questions, they have made me reflect upon my identity. The definition of identity is the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. Our identity is influenced by our social groups. Cultural identity is self identification, a sense of belonging to a group that reaffirms itself. It is the extent to which one is a representative of a given cultural behaviorally, communicatively, psychologically, and sociologically. It consists of values, meanings, customs, and beliefs used to relate to the world. It reflects the common historical experiences and shared cultural codes which give us as one entity a stable, unchanging, continuing frame of reference and meaning. My family has influenced my identity through their influence of values and expectations of me, both directly and indirectly. My parents have directly taught me values, including the difference between right and wrong, interactions with others, rules, and expectations. I have developed my moral self through observing my parents interact with others and making the right choices. The interactions with my parents have built my self confidence through their encouragement of allowing me to make my own decisions, which has given me a greater sense of individuality. My parents' standards have encouraged me to work hard and motivate me through any obligations I have. My mother and father have stressed the importance of their values and how crucial it is to maintain your values. Family values are values held to be traditionally learned or reinforced within a family, such as those of high moral standards and discipline. The highest value my parents have held me to is honesty. They truly believe that honesty is the best policy in any situation. They encouraged me to always be truthful with them and told me as long as I abided by this rule that we could resolve any problem I might encounter as long as I was honest and upfront with them. My family's value of honesty has helped me in various situations and guided me to make the right decisions. A central value that my parents have held me to is my education. When my parents grew up, they did not have access to the best education, which is why they wanted to enroll me in private school. They wanted me to have access and grow up in a society that they could not, which is why they have always done everything in their power to provide the best education they could for me and to help ensure a bright future. Since I am a first generation college student, my parents hold my education to the highest standard. TCU was always a top choice for my parents for me to attend school, partly because it is so close to home, but they also felt that it would be a great place for me to call a second home and find a family of friends here. When deciding to attend TCU, my parents and I believed this would also be a great place for me to continue to embrace my values. My parents were right when they thought I would find a second home and a sense of family with friends at TCU. I've surrounded myself with friends who share similar values with me, which has helped me carry the same core values my parents have always stressed on me. As you know, it can be easy to stray from some of your values when you are placed into a new environment. Family first, above all else, is a supreme value. Family will always come first. It doesn't matter how distant the relative might be, we should always be ready to help them. If a family member needs us, we will be there, and vice versa. There's no other social group you can rely on more than your family. Coming from a relatively small immediate family, this has been the number one law to follow and a sacred value to abide by. Coming from a family where I am the only child, I have always been the top priority to my parents. I have always been the center of their attention, whether I have liked it or not. Their watchful eye has reminded me that someone somewhere is always watching, so it is wise to be on your best behavior. Since I am the only child, I didn't have siblings to look up to or compare myself to, so I was forced to look up to my parents. This also forced my parents into being the best role models they could be, which is probably why they so heavily enforce values upon me. Apart from just being close to my parents, my whole family stresses the importance of being close with our entire family. Although my distant family members and I don't see each other quite as often, we still remain close. Every year we draw on the closeness and a sense of belonging at my grandparents' house. My grandparents host a large barbecue at their farm every year so that it allows for everyone to catch up over playing dominoes and great food. Along with barbecues, my family gets together every year in the summer for a fishing tournament in honor of one of my cousins who passed away. Several of us organize fishing teams and compete in the tournament. It started off as a family fishing tournament to raise money for our cousin's daughter's college fund, but it soon turned into a large tournament which now hosts hundreds of fishing teams each year. Some smaller aspects that shape my identity are due to my father's love of sports. His love for the Dallas Cowboys has shaped me into a young Cowboys fan, even through their losing seasons. It's hard not to root for America's team when your father has a shrine built for them in your house. Not only does my family's values shape my identity, but so does where I come from. I was born and raised in Texas, and I plan to stay. Being a Texan, it is almost mandatory to believe you are from the best state. I have always embraced my Texas pride, and patriotism makes up a large part of my identity. Not only does Texas as a state shape my identity, but my hometown does. Fort Worth will always have my heart. It's where I have grown up, and through experience, it is difficult to leave. When I left Fort Worth to go to college my freshman year at K State, I was more homesick than I could have ever imagined. When I would return home, everything would feel back to normal. After a few trips back and forth, I realized I was so homesick due to the fact it felt I was leaving a part of myself behind. Sometimes family gets on our nerves and we can see them as more of a burden, but at the end of the day, they shape who we are. Values are usually passed down from generation to generation, which allows large families to circulate around the same core values. I've developed my sense of self through my family's environment. The questions, who am I and who am I going to be, are ones I can answer due to the values my parents have raised me with. Although our individual identities are influenced by many factors, family is the first group in which we identify with, and our familial interactions influence our attitudes and beliefs well into our childhood.